I want to send a special thank you to all my new subscribers. If you have not subscribed, make sure you do so and hit that bell so that way you receive notifications when I upload videos. You guys, this is a disturbing case right here. A 47-year-old man by the name of Terry May from Florida was arrested Thursday on charges of child abuse after he poured boiling water on his 3-year-old son's back for accidentally peeing on the floor. The child care providers at the daycare called deputies after seeing the burns on the boy's back, which actually was the length that stretched downward of this boy's entire back. And when deputies asked the little boy what happened, he admitted that his father was the one who burned him. Now, this guy is the same guy who was previously charged with child abuse in January of 2018 after beating his 3-year-old daughter with a belt and placing her in a hot oven. He placed this girl in a hot oven, a 3-year-old. And photos at the time showed several contusion and swelling to her head, along with a 6-inch scar on her back and abrasions to her ear, leg, hands, and feet. And the examiner who looked at the little girl said that those scars were more likely from being placed in a hot oven. And in that case, with the little girl, with his daughter, he pled not guilty in that case. He stated that his ex-girlfriend lied because he refused to pay her child support. But catch this, the DA ended up dropping the case and wasn't able to prosecute him because they claimed that the girl was hard to understand and that there weren't any witnesses and they weren't able to prove when the injuries occurred. So that's insane that this guy was able to get away with abusing he hasn't gotten away with the case that he's currently dealing with now for his son, but he was able to get away with abusing the daughter. He put this little girl, a 3-year-old girl, in a hot oven. And then he took boiling hot water and poured it on his 3-year-old son's back. Now, the bond in the case dealing with his son was set at $250,000, and the boy has since been removed from the home and placed in the custody of the state. Now, my question is, where is the mother of these kids? Why are these kids living with this man? Or why is he even around these children if you know that this guy has a problem when it comes to child abuse? I don't understand how a mother can overlook that. And a lot of times I always ask myself, are these mothers participating in this type of behavior too, but they're not saying anything because they haven't been caught? You know, sometimes these women will stay quiet and not say anything to prevent the heat being turned on them because they weren't the one caught. The father was, or the other person who was involved, the other parent involved. Because this not only happens with guys, females are abusers as well. And men will sit back and not say anything and watch the mothers beating the children. So this goes both ways. It's not just men or women. In this case, it so happens to be a male. But those kids are most likely going to suffer from some type of emotional scarring that's going to last. It's going to have long-lasting effects on these kids when they become adults. It's like, if you can't trust your own parents, who can you trust? Who can you trust? You know, kids that are that young, suffering from abuse, have a hard time expressing themselves already, you know, and so to add child abuse on top of that, they're definitely going to have a hard time really opening it up and talking about things that they're dealing with. And so, you know, when you suppress a lot of things that you're dealing with, that can turn into anger. And that's when people lash out at other people, and you get, you know, these people walking around shooting up places, you know, killing people. It's because kids are dealing with this type of stuff behind closed doors. And I've had this conversation plenty of times with different parents. You know, I grew up in a certain household as well, where many parents feel that using fear to control behavior is normal and acceptable. And, you know, I always say there's nothing wrong with disciplining your child or correcting negative behavior. But making your child fear you to keep them in line is going to cause your child to withdraw from you. The way I look at it, they're learning how to avoid being hit or beaten. They're not learning positive ways to correct negative behavior. And I can speak to that from experience. You know, my parents used belts, you know, to whoop us as kids when they felt that we stepped out of line. But it was a difference between my mother disciplining us and my father disciplining us, because my father really instilled fear in us. And so those whoopings were very different than when my mother did it. My mother did it when she would whoop us, she would turn around and she would explain to us the reason why she did what she did. And she would always explain to us that she loved us, but she just wanted to make sure that we understood that the behavior that we did was not accepted. But we always knew that it came out of love. It was different when my dad disciplined us. It was just, we looked at him differently. So I honestly think this guy is a monster. Just the stuff that he's done to both of his kids, he's a complete monster. And it's likely that this guy was a victim of abuse himself. And I have no respect for adults who pick on or abuse helpless children who can't defend themselves. So the way I look at it in this case, when the law is unable to deal with you, the community should step in and deal with you. So I honestly hope that Florida, if anybody's from Florida listening, I hope you guys are watching this case. So you guys, y'all tell me what your thoughts are about this, and I will see you in the next video.